Hello and welcome to the day. I am Pastor Nicole Martin and we are here at Signs for Life, and our theme this week has been Your Story Matters. Your story matters. And I was wrestling with our topic for the day. I keep thinking about this idea of vulnerability and imperfection, and how in the storytelling process, the imperfection and being vulnerable to that imperfection is actually what makes the story perfect. Think about that. The imperfection making it perfect. Yesterday, I shared the story with you all of the centurion who comes to Jesus and says, "My servant is paralyzed and in great distress." And Jesus says, "Well, I'll come with you and cure him." And the centurion says, "No, just say it and it will be so, and I'll trust that it is." That story has a level of vulnerability to it and imperfection to it. The centurion had to wrestle with the fact that he couldn't fix it himself, right? He had to wrestle to the fact that he's going outside of his realm of norm. He works for the Roman army, and that is an idea of perfection, right, in this empire, and this is what perfection is supposed to look like in this empire. But he steps out of that idea of empire and its version of perfection into something others think as imperfect. And he allows himself to be vulnerable in this place of being imperfect. He could not fix this situation for his servant. He was imperfect. He wasn't God. He couldn't do this thing. And so he sought to be vulnerable by going to Jesus. But it's this vulnerability in the imperfection that allows the story to take the shape for us to hear and understand that the story is actually perfect in and of itself, because it allows us to connect, and it allows us to understand the beauty, and it allows us to be enriched because of that vulnerable imperfection. I throw this out today to wrestle with: how is your story vulnerably imperfect? And how can, through your vulnerably imperfect self, actually use your story to help others connect and help others grow? Because your story itself is perfect, right? The culmination of your narrative becomes this beautiful place for others to gather with you and find healing. That's one of the reasons your story matters, because it is a revealing of yourself to the world in a way that allows for connection to happen. I have to admit, I've started this particular video today like 5 times because I keep trying to come up with a story of my own that allows me to express this idea. And I think for me, some of that comes when I'm dealing with children or dealing with animals, and this raw sense of with other people, right? Because stories have that connection, and stories are built in community. And I was thinking about my dog Duke. Duke, he was a beautiful dog, a cross of a German Shepherd and a Collie. And we had him for about 8 years. We got him when he was 8 months old, and we lived in Iceland. And it's the first time I'd ever really owned a dog, and so figuring out what to do and what does this look like to train an 8-month-old puppy. And he just was so good and beautiful and could pick things up quickly. And we'd only had him a couple months, and we lived on the 3rd floor of a stairwell apartment there on the military base. And it's early in the morning, and I'm taking him for a walk because, you know, as apartment dwellers, you just can't open a back door and send your dog out. So here he comes down the stairs, he and I, and we walk out into this blustery winter day, 32 degrees, and we haven't even gotten out of this long parking lot when I hit a patch of ice. Boom! And my feet fly up in the air, and I'm laying on my back looking up at the sun, just sitting there, and I'm like, oh Lord, And for this split moment, I'm thinking, Duke, please don't run away, right? Because he was going to take off. And can I turn you into Lassie, and can you go send help? And then he comes over and he nudges me, and his encouragement allows me to get up from this vulnerable state of laying on the ground where I'd hurt my back, right? And then finish being able to take care of him and go back inside. I love that moment with that dog. But in order for me to tell the story of my connection with this beautiful creature, I have to reveal something about myself. I have to reveal that I was laying flat on my back with my feet up in the air, wishing he was Lassie. I thought, I hope you're going to be able to rescue me someday, like Lassie did Timmy. But through that vulnerableness and my willing to express my imperfection, that I too can land flat on my back, what we have is a story of an intimate relationship between a human being and her dog, and how they loved each other and protected one another and took care of one another. The story of vulnerability and imperfection creating a place of perfection. That's what I invite you into this week, as you understand and believe from yourself that your story matters. I hope you have a wonderful day. May the blessings of God be before you, and that you can live radiantly into this life that is a gift for you, for your own story to take shape, and for you to have radiance inside of those pages. Blessings to you all. Ciao.